Virgo, something brought you here today. And I don't want to rush past that because out of everything available to you right now, out of every direction your attention could have gone, something in you chose this. Something quiet but insistent said, "Stop here. This one is for you." I believe that the 6th of April, 2026, I want you to hear that date not as a deadline, not as pressure, but as a marker. A point on the map of your life where something, and I feel this so clearly as we begin, something that has been quietly, almost invisibly building around you, finally reaches the surface, finally becomes visible, finally becomes real in the way that only tangible, undeniable change can be real. This is not a small shift. What I'm feeling around you right now is not subtle background movement. It is the kind of energy that accumulates over months, sometimes over years, and then at a specific moment, in response to a specific alignment of circumstances and inner readiness, it releases all at once in a way that changes the texture of your life from that point forward. And you are standing right at the edge of that release. Let's see what this energy brings before we go forward where you've been. I can't speak about what's coming without first acknowledging where you are right now, because I feel it. And I think you need someone to actually name it before we move into anything else. You've been in a kind of in-between space, not fully in the old version of your life anymore. That chapter has been closing, whether gracefully or reluctantly, whether by your choice or by circumstance, but not yet standing firmly in what's next. And that in-between place, it is one of the most disorienting places a person can inhabit because it asks you to keep moving without being able to clearly see where you're moving to. I sense that has taken a toll on you, maybe more than you've admitted to anyone around you, maybe more than you've even fully admitted to yourself. There's a particular kind of exhaustion that comes from that space. Not the exhaustion of doing too much, though you may have been doing that too, but the exhaustion of holding yourself together through sustained uncertainty, of waking up day after day and not quite knowing when the ground beneath you is going to feel solid again. And I want to sit with that for a moment because I feel it's important. You have been doing that holding, that quiet, private, often invisible holding for longer than you should have had to. And I want to say something that I genuinely feel not as a comfort phrase, but as an actual energetic observation. The fact that you are still here, still showing up, still reaching towards something better, even in the middle of all that uncertainty. That is not nothing. That is actually everything. Because the news that's coming, the shift that's arriving by the 6th of April, it is not arriving despite what you've been through. It is arriving because of it, because of who you've become inside it, because of the roots you grew in the dark when no one was watching and nothing was guaranteed. Those roots are about to matter enormously. What I'm feeling around this specific date, let me get specific now, because I think that's what you need. Not generalities, not beautiful language that floats above the surface, something real. When I tune into the energy around the 6th of April, 2026, And around you, specifically in relation to that date, the first word that comes is revelation, not in a dramatic, cinematic sense, but in the truest sense of that word, something being revealed, something coming into the light that has been operating in the shadow, something becoming clear that has been obscured either by circumstance or by your own protective reluctance to fully see it. Hold on, let me sit with this for a moment. Yes, there's a very specific quality to what I'm sensing. It's not just information arriving from the outside, though. I do feel there is news coming, real and tangible news, the kind that lands in your life and rearranges things. But beneath that external news, there is also an internal revelation, a moment where something inside you clicks into place, where you understand something about your own life, your own path, your own worth that you've been circling for a long time without quite landing on. Both things at the same time, around the same window. And I feel this is important, that the external news and the internal shift are connected. They're not two separate events happening simultaneously by coincidence. They are the same movement, expressing itself on two levels at once, the outside reflecting the inside, the universe responding to a readiness in you that has been quietly developing. That's not coincidence, that's alignment. The nature of the news, what I'm sensing. Now I want to speak to the nature of what's arriving, because I think you've been wondering, and I would be too, what kind of news, what area of my life, what does this actually look like? I want to be honest with you. I don't see a single identical answer for every person receiving this reading. What I do see is a cluster of themes, and I feel strongly that at least one, probably more than one, will land directly in the center of your situation. The first theme I'm feeling is resolution. Something that has been unresolved, hanging in the air, unfinished, creating a low hum of tension in the background of your daily life, is reaching its conclusion. And I feel this resolution arrives not through more struggle, not through another exhausting push, but through a kind of natural completion, like a sentence finally reaching its period, like a door that's been slightly opened finally swinging all the way in one direction or the other so you can finally know which way you're walking. Some of you know exactly what I'm pointing at right now. You've been living with that unresolved thing for so long, it's started to feel like furniture, like it's just always going to be there. But I feel very clearly it is not always going to be there. It is wrapping up. And the 6th of April sits very close to that completion point. The second theme is recognition. And I mean this in multiple senses. Recognition from someone or something outside you, an acknowledgement, an arrival of something or someone who sees you, who validates what you've been building or becoming, but also self-recognition. A moment where you look at yourself and your journey and you think, perhaps for the first time with real conviction, I did this. I survived this. I am actually standing here. That moment of self-recognition is not small. In fact, I feel it's one of the most significant things arriving for you, because everything that comes after it will be received differently by a person who knows their own worth than by a person who is still unsure. The third theme, and this one feels electric when I tune into it, is opening, a door, a path, an opportunity, a conversation, a possibility that did not exist or did not feel accessible before this moment. something opening up in your life that changes your sense of what's possible, not in a vague, inspirational way, but in a specific, practical, this is a real option now kind of way. Let's see what this energy brings for you specifically. I feel it's connected to something you've wanted for a long time, something you've maybe stopped letting yourself want too loudly because it felt too far away or too uncertain, or because you'd been disappointed before and the self-protection instinct kicked in and said, don't want it too much. But it's been there, underneath the protection, still alive, still yours, and it's being activated. The emotional landscape you're navigating, I want to pause the forward momentum and just be with where you actually are emotionally right now, because I think that matters as much as anything else I could say. What I sense in you is a very particular mixture of feelings that don't fully cancel each other out. They coexist, sometimes uncomfortably. There is genuine hope, the real kind, the kind that has survived disappointment and kept quietly burning anyway, which makes it stronger and more trustworthy than hope that's never been tested. But alongside that hope, I feel guardedness, a protective shell that developed over time, that learned to appear before hope got too loud, that says, be careful. Don't let yourself believe too completely. Keep a little distance from your own expectations so that if it doesn't happen, the fall isn't so far. I understand that guardedness. I really do. And I want to say it was wise when it formed. It protected you through times when you needed protection. But I feel strongly in this reading that it is starting to work against you. Not because the universe requires perfect openness from you, but because what's arriving, the news, the shift, the opening, it wants to meet the real you, not the carefully managed, slightly held back version. The actual, full, hoping, and feeling and present version. Inhale. And there's something else I'm picking up, a thread of disbelief. Like part of you is already preparing to find the catch, already scanning for why this won't be as good as it sounds, why the news won't be quite what you need, why the door will open just slightly but not all the way. I want to gently challenge that. Not dismiss it, it comes from real experience, real history, but challenge it, because the energy I'm feeling around the 6th of April is not a half measure. It is not a tease. It is a real, substantive, life-altering movement, and you deserve to receive it without already preparing your disappointment. Can you try that just for now, just in this space? Can you let yourself believe that something real is coming? What has been happening behind the scenes, the invisible work? There is something I need to name that doesn't get talked about enough in readings like this. The invisible work, not the visible effort, the actions you took, the decisions you made, the things people around you could see and acknowledge, but the inner work, the private reckoning, the nights you spent processing something alone, the moments you chose growth over comfort when no one was watching and nothing guaranteed you'd be rewarded for it. I feel that work so clearly in your energy. And I want you to know it has not gone unnoticed by the universe, even when it felt completely unwitnessed by the world around you. There have been moments, specific moments, some of which I think you can locate precisely in your memory, where you made a choice that cost you something: comfort, certainty, someone's approval, a version of safety that was familiar even if it wasn't healthy. And you made that choice anyway, because something in you, quiet but completely unshakable, knew it was right. Those moments are the architecture of what's arriving. What's coming by the 6th of April is not random. It is not luck in the way luck is sometimes understood as something that falls on people arbitrarily. It is the natural, energetic consequence of who you have been choosing to become. Often in private, often in difficulty, often without any visible proof that the choice was paying off. It was paying off every single time. And now the account is settling. Now the energy that you have been pouring in through growth, through release, through the hard and honest work of becoming more aligned with your own truth is returning to you visibly, tangibly, in a form you can hold. You planted this, even when you didn't feel like a gardener, even when it felt like nothing was growing. What you're being asked to release before it arrives. Now, I want to go into something that might feel slightly challenging, not because it's dark, but because it requires a certain kind of honesty. I sense something you've been carrying that no longer belongs with you. And I don't mean a person or a situation necessarily, though for some of you it might be exactly that. I mean something more internal, a story, a belief, a deeply ingrained narrative about what you are allowed to have, what you are capable of receiving, what the upper limit of your life is allowed to be. Some version of things like that don't happen for people like me. Or every time something good arrives, something else goes wrong. Or perhaps most quietly and most persistently, I don't fully trust that I deserve this. I'm not asking you to do a dramatic ceremony around releasing these beliefs. I'm not asking you to force positivity over them or pretend they aren't there. They're there, and they formed for real reasons rooted in real experiences, and that deserves respect. But I am asking you gently, because I feel this matters enormously right now, to consider that those stories were written about a version of you that no longer fully exists, a version that hadn't yet done the growth you've done, a version that hadn't yet survived what you've survived. You are not that version anymore. And what's arriving on or around the 6th of April is arriving for who you are now, not who you were. The question is whether you'll let yourself receive it through the eyes of who you've become, or whether you'll filter it through the old story that says you shouldn't expect too much. I believe you're ready to receive it fully. I actually do. Your relationships in this energy. Let me speak specifically about the relationship dimension of what's coming, because I feel it's significant, and I don't want to skip past it. For some of you, the news arriving is directly connected to another person, a conversation that's been waiting to happen, a dynamic that's been suspended, unclear, neither moving forward nor fully ending, and that suspension is about to resolve. The energy I feel around this is not ambiguous. Whatever has been unclear between you and a specific person is becoming clear. And the clarity, while it may feel exposing, while it may require you to be honest in ways that feel vulnerable, the clarity is ultimately in your favor. For others, the relationship dimension is more about a new connection, someone entering your life in a way that surprises you. Not dramatically, not in a movie scene way, but in that quiet, undeniable way where you meet or reconnect with someone and something in you recognizes them, recognizes what they carry, recognizes that they belong in this next chapter of your story. And for some of you, and I feel this strongly, the most significant relationship shift is happening with yourself. A new way of relating to your own worth, your own needs, your own voice, a quiet revolution in how you treat the person you spend every single moment of your life with you. And that internal shift, it ripples outward into every relationship you have. It changes what you accept, what you offer, what you attract, what you recognize as love versus what you've been settling for under the name of love. All of that is in motion. All of it is reaching a visible point around this date. Your path and purpose, the clarity, that's coming. I want to speak now to something that I feel has been a source of genuine confusion and pain for you. The question of direction, of purpose, of what am I actually supposed to be doing with my life, and am I anywhere close to it? That question has felt heavy. I feel that. It's one thing to be uncertain about logistics, those can be figured out. It's another thing entirely to feel uncertain about direction, about whether the path you're on is actually yours or whether you've been walking someone else's map. Here's what I sense is shifting. The clarity you've been asking for, sometimes desperately, sometimes in that quiet 3M way where you're not even sure who you're asking, it's arriving, not as a complete, detailed blueprint, not as a voice from the sky with a 5-year plan, but as a felt sense of yes, this direction, a moment where something in your gut stops second guessing and starts simply knowing. And I feel this is specific that the news arriving around the 6th of April is going to be a significant part of that directional clarity. Either it will confirm something you've been sensing but haven't trusted, or it will redirect you, not harshly, not as a punishment, but as a course correction that, looking back, you'll understand was exactly what needed to happen. Either way, you come out of this window of time with more direction than you went into it with. And direction, after a long period of genuine uncertainty, is one of the most profound gifts there is. The surprise, what's arriving unexpectedly. I want to speak to something I feel very specifically, an element of the unexpected in what's coming. Because the word and the energy around you right now is not just change, it is surprise. And I want to be specific about what I mean by that. I'm not sensing disruption or chaos. I'm sensing the particular quality of a blessing that arrives from an angle you weren't fully watching, through a channel you may have written off, in a form that is slightly different from what you imagined, but somehow, once it arrives, more fitting than anything you consciously designed for yourself. That gap between what you imagined and what actually arrives, I don't think it's a disappointment waiting to happen. I think it's evidence that the universe has a wider view of your potential than you've been working with, that what's coming has been shaped by a larger intelligence than your planning mind, which can only work with what it already knows. What's arriving knows things your planning mind doesn't. And the surprise element, that quality of, I didn't see this coming, not quite like this, I want you to stay open to that rather than immediately trying to fit it into a box you already have. Let it show you its shape before you decide what to do with it. Because the first instinct when something arrives unexpectedly is often to manage it, to analyze it, to quickly assess whether it fits your existing framework. Try something different this time. Try receiving it first, fully, before the analysis begins. How to move through the next 24 to 48 hours. As we move toward the 6th of April, and we are right there, we are right at the edge of this, I want to give you something practical to carry. Because beautiful insights without grounding tend to evaporate. And I don't want that for you. I want this to stay with you in a way that actually shapes how you move through these next hours and days. The first thing, stay in your body. I know that might sound strange, but I feel it strongly. There's a tendency when we know something significant is approaching to go entirely into our heads, to think about it, analyze it, prepare for every possible version of it. And that mental activity actually creates a kind of static that makes it harder to receive clearly. Stay embodied, notice your breath, feel your feet on the ground. Come back to the physical present when your mind starts spinning out into scenarios, because what's coming is going to arrive in the physical world, in real life, in actual moments, and you want to be present in those moments, not half absent in your own projections. The second thing, lower your noise, not your hope. This is important. I'm not asking you to become quiet about your desires or to manage your expectations downward. I'm asking you to turn down the external noise, the opinions, the distractions, the constant input, so that when something significant happens, you can actually hear it, register it, let it land. Some of the most important moments in our lives arrive quietly, and we miss them because we're too loud inside to notice. The third thing, and this might be the most important, let yourself be surprised without immediately needing to explain it. When something arrives that feels significant, there's a strong impulse to immediately tell someone, to immediately share it, to immediately translate it into words so it becomes real. And sometimes that's beautiful, but sometimes, especially for something tender, something new, something still taking shape, the translation can flatten it before it has a chance to fully form. Hold some of this privately. Let it settle into you first. Let it become fully yours before you introduce it to the world's reactions. A message that feels directly for you. I want to pause everything for a moment because there's something I feel needs to be said directly, not as part of the reading's flow, but as a genuine, specific message. You have been measuring yourself against the wrong timeline somewhere along the way. And I think, when this started, you began comparing where you are to where you thought you'd be by now. And that comparison has been quietly devastating. Not in a dramatic way, in that slow, grinding way where it just slightly dims everything, where every good thing is colored by, but it should have happened sooner, but I should be further along, but everyone else seems to have figured it out and I'm still here. I want to say something about that, and I want you to actually hear it. Your timeline is not behind, it is not wrong, it is not evidence that you failed or that something is broken in you. It is your timeline shaped by your specific path, your specific growth, your specific lessons, your specific readiness. And the news arriving around the 6th of April, it is arriving at the right time. not your planned time, not your comparison time, the right time. The time at which you are actually genuinely fully able to receive it and use it and build with it rather than having it arrive when you weren't yet who you needed to be to hold it. The delay was not a punishment, it was precision. And you are standing right now at the exact moment when that precision becomes visible. What this change means for your larger life. I want to speak briefly about the larger picture because what's arriving around this date is not a one-time event. It is a turning point, and turning points by their nature change everything that comes after them. I sense that what's beginning in this window of time with the news, the shift, the opening, the surprise is actually the start of a longer chapter, one that feels fundamentally different from what came before it. Not because every problem disappears, not because life becomes suddenly simple, but because you are moving through it differently, with more clarity about who you are, with more trust in your own knowing, with a kind of quiet, unshakable confidence that comes not from everything going right, but from having survived everything going wrong and discovering that you are still here, still whole, still capable, still deserving. That's the version of you that walks into what's next. And that version, I feel this completely is ready for what's coming in a way that no earlier version of you could have been. The growth that felt like loss, the waiting that felt like abandonment, the confusion that felt like failure, it was all building you into someone capable of receiving and sustaining what's arriving. The 6th of April is not the end of something, it is the beginning of something. And what begins here echoes forward into your life for a very long time. One final reflection before we close. I want to leave you with one question, not to answer here, just to carry with you into the hours ahead. If you fully trusted that something life-changing was already in motion, already done, already decided, already on its way to you, how would you spend today differently? How would you breathe? What would you stop bracing for? What would you let yourself feel excited about without immediately pulling back? I want you to actually try living that way, not as a manifestation technique, not as a performance, as a genuine experiment in what it feels like to trust your own life. Because the energy I've been feeling throughout this entire reading, strong, consistent, specific, it is not wishful, it is not vague comfort designed to make you feel better temporarily. It is a genuine, clear, palpable sense that something real is arriving for you, that the 6th of April sits inside a window of genuine, meaningful, life-altering change. And you are ready for it. More ready than you know, more ready than you've let yourself believe. Closing, calm, grounded, real. As we come to the end of this reading, I want to bring everything back to something simple. You showed up today. Something in you said, this matters. Be here, and you listened. That is not a small thing. That kind of inner listening is exactly what has been guiding you toward this moment, and it is exactly what will guide you through what comes next. Trust that voice. It has been more accurate than you've given it credit for. In this reading, I've felt consistently and clearly that you've been in a meaningful preparation phase that is now completing. That real, tangible, significant news or change is arriving around the 6th of April, that it carries the energy of resolution, recognition, and opening, that the surprise element is a gift, not a warning, that your relationships, your path, and your sense of self are all shifting in ways that serve your deepest well being, and that the invisible work you've been doing quietly, privately, often alone, has genuinely, powerfully mattered. None of that is conditional on you being perfect. None of it requires more from you than you've already given. You've already done so much. Now comes the part where life gives something back. If something in this reading landed for you, if even one line felt true in that specific personal way, I want to hear about it. Drop a comment below. Tell me what you're standing at the edge of. Tell me what you're hoping for. Tell me what you're releasing. This space belongs to you as much as it belongs to me, and your words genuinely matter here. And if part of you is still holding back, still waiting for one more confirmation before you let yourself believe, then let me say this simply. This was it. The confirmation you were looking for was always going to feel like this: quiet, clear, real, not theatrical, just true. Take care of yourself as you move through these next hours and days. Stay present, stay open, and when it arrives, and it is arriving, let yourself receive it completely. You've earned this. I'll see you in the next reading.